Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Here we go, another snippet of a feature film breakdown. This time we are looking at a scene from the trial of the Chicago 7, I think it is. Glad that I stumbled here. I'm not going to start the video over again. We're just going to continue to push through because in the end, does it actually matter what we're looking at? No, not really. What matters are the results and whether or not we can, in our own mind, formulate how we could get those exact same results. If we like it, we put it in the bucket that we like. If we don't like it, we also try and figure out how to do it. We just put it in the bucket that we don't like. And hopefully we never, ever see again. We can do everything we can on set and in pre-production to avoid being put in a situation where we would have to use these tricks. But it's always good to know. Today is an example of a setup that you will see over and over and over again. But there's a little tiny, it's not a cheat. It's just something that cinematographers who are in the know and filmmakers who are in the know and want to make it easy on themselves, and maybe they have some issues with the location, or maybe there's issues with extras, which will happen up and down the ladder of budgets for various scales of production. You're always going to be up against it for time, for extras, for locations. All of these things will always be an issue. And if you have easy outs that you can just pull out of your back pocket and say, well, you know, we don't have all the extras that we need for this bar scene. What are we going to do? Well, let's shoot it this way, or let's put forth this style of framing or coverage. And that's exactly what we are looking at. We're looking at ways, or at least what I'm trying to do when I look at these things, I'm trying to find ways that other cinematographers have quickly and easily and very efficiently solved problems that have resulted in beautiful looking images, but have also resulted in very simple workflows that I know because I'm not that good, right? I'm a lot like you. I'm much closer to you than I am to Fade and Papa Michael, who shot this. So I'm always trying, I'm not trying to do what Fade and Papa Michael did. I'm trying to see what he did and then figure out what I can do on my own. Figure out what I can do with the small crews that I'm able to work with, who are fantastic, by the way. If any are watching, right, of course we can do stuff like this. Like, I obviously know what I'm talking about. You shouldn't be watching this YouTube channel at all. What are you doing? Back to work. Okay, that is what we're going to be doing. Again, if you want to see the entire breakdown, I think this one is 45 minutes long. You can find that over on Patreon. The link is in the description. I greatly appreciate supporting the show and the podcast. It's the whole reason that I'm able to do these things, and hopefully you enjoy these little snippets either way. So with that being said, let's get into this look at the trial of the Chicago 7, and we're shooting in a bar, and we need a very easy way or a very efficient way to film two people having a conversation, make it look as good as possible with as much depth as possible. Is this a thing that Faden can do? I believe so. That's why we're looking at it. Let's go. Okay, so this is the first scene that we're going to do. This is, I have seen this exact setup to this solution in probably the most famous example is Birdman, where you're going to have these two people talking to each other, but you don't want to talk along the bar. So let's talk at the L of the bar, right? One person here, one person here. This is a beautiful, elegant solution to solve this problem. Harder to do if you're going to get a wide. Plays really well here because we don't see the wide. So let's go closer. Hey, first time, you know it's going to be a good day. First of all, this is just beautiful lighting, right? It's no accident. Faden does the kind of work that he does. This is beautiful. It's perfect. I don't know what this was shot on. Some crazy old vintage anamorphics, because there are some serious anamorphic-y goodness on the edges of these lenses you can see in the wide shots. But so yeah, so this exact, like, okay, we got two people talking at a bar. We know the different ways that you can do this. We know you can shoot from behind, like let's say it's going to be these two people, and you do the killing them softly. You do the killing them softly bar look, where you shoot this way in between these two heads. So you know you'd have, if this was the frame up here, you'd have back ahead, guy standing, right? And that would be your first shot. And then for your overs, you can do, somebody's back of the head and the other person, turns to look. So this is the other person here. Hello. So you can do French overs, right? Which is camera here looking at this guy. Or you can do this way at them. We've seen it done a few different times. I'm thinking back to, I think we broke down Thor when we looked at a scene that shot on this side of the bar. This is probably shooting from the bar out is the least ideal. Shooting from the other side is, would be second place. And then this is by far the preferred solution, because you're going to make this super easy to shoot, very easy to light. It's going to be quick. You can take advantage, if you've got a good location, you can take advantage of the background on both sides of the single. On this whole walkover, you can do it as well. it's a really elegant solution, and that's why it's in Birdman. That's why there's a bunch of different examples where people will sit at the L of the bar like this. Okay, so we come down, and so, but again, to get away with this shot, we don't need a full body wide in this bar, right? We want to be fairly long on the lens so we don't see the whole thing. We want to shoot along it a little bit. We have little pops of highlights in the background, but this light isn't filling up these walls over here, right? It is just on enough to register that the practical is on. You know, you get this little colored blue downlight, which matches this blue downlight over here. Why does it switch? Why does it switch? Someone one day is going to cut together a compilation of just everything that goes wrong with the pen or the full screen during the live streams. It'll be 16 hours long. You got the color up here. You got your practicals on. You got dark walls for the bar, right? It's not going to be white in there. And then you have, much like your wet downs, you got your nice reflective surfaces inside of the bar, whether it's glass or the wood. And this is all very interesting stuff. So let's back it up just a little bit where he starts over there. Okay. So we got a little bit of hair here. Notice not a whole lot of red light there, right? There's just nothing there. So there's a little bit of ambient light on her hair, but we're going to see in a minute that we just create a light out of nothing, which ties in with this red. Here she comes. Camera pushes left a little bit, make room for him, and boom, we got her single. This is it. We're going to play this whole scene in 2 shots. This is scheduling genius. The first AD would just be loving this. Wait, we're going to play it in 2? Yes, 2. So this red light comes out of nowhere. That's what I was talking about. Just to make the background interesting, to rake it along. So you get a little bit of highlight here, a little bit of darkness on this side. Does nicely there on the wall. Then we've got our prac, which is just going straight down here, right? There's not a whole lot of spill on this prac. We don't want it. We don't need it. It's just to register highlight in the background to keep things interesting. If we're talking about key light, I mean, this is as easy to light. This is what everybody should be learning to light. If you can light this distance of shot, you can do this entire scene, right? This is the distance that you should be getting used to. If you got your mannequin, you want to set them up about this distance. Now, it's a fairly wide eye line, which means the camera is pushed this way a lot. We're not like sitting right on top of this person's shoulder. She's looking a good, I don't know, what is that? At least 3 feet camera right. So harder, if you're going to go anamorphic, it is harder to get a tight eye line. If you're working with a director that likes really tight eye lines, just be aware that anamorphic makes it really, really difficult, especially if you're going to shoot 2 cameras. You know, here they're not really shooting 2 cameras, but if they were, it makes it even more difficult. So tight eye lines, spherical is significantly easier. Wide eye lines, well, anamorphic is your friend. Probably why, I'm guessing, why this is so wide here is because this is the interesting part of the background, right? Interesting part of the background. We've got our little depth cues there. We've got some interesting little jukebox things going on. We got this thing going. Whereas if we come around, we would just be shooting into the flatter bit of the wall, which would flatten off this whole scene. So we do, does he come into that shot? We're just riding just on the edge of his shoulder there, right? So this is, again, going back to linking it up with the Queen's Gambit a couple of weeks ago. This is a choice. Do we do dirty overs, which you normally see in anamorphic? You're going to see overs versus spherical. Most of the time you're inside of the conversation. Not most of the time. Sometimes you're in conversation, whereas much less so with anamorphic, just because it's harder to do. You got to be so close to the person that it would make it seem awkward, the distance. But for key light, where is it? Key light, this is easy, right? You got a 4x frame. You got probably 1 Titan tube here giving you this red color. Get it down the wardrobe there, and then 4x frame this way. Keep it around to the side and up above enough that it doesn't get in the glasses, and then you get that nice little eye light, perfect little triangle here, nice shadow, all really, really controlled, beautiful work. Right? This is what you would expect. This is what nice looks like. We come around to him. Surely it's going to be hard for him. No, it's the exact same. The exact same key light, the exact same angle, only we're not feeling near as much. Way, way darker. No red backlight for him, although you could put it in, right? This is where it gets stylistic. This is where you get your choices. You know, everybody, the top 100 cinematographers are all probably going to, you know, if you decide, okay, on the angle, once you get through the angle bit, if we're going to light this thing, they're probably all going to light it the same. But then you can start to make choices of, okay, well, how dark do we want his shadows versus her shadows? Where does this red light go? Do we need a back edge? Do we park him a little bit left more? So this thing we can sell as like a warmer practical. How do we do it? Do we want to see that window back there? Those are more the questions than how are we actually going to get the fixtures in, right? And then this is just a good looking scene, man. The good colors, nice color temperature on these relative to the practicals in the background. Everything is working for this scene. And it's easy. Look at that eye light. This is good looking stuff. If you can get a conversation to look like this between two people in a really, really easy setup, you basically have a career. Okay, now hopefully after you have watched that, you've seen what I was leading up to there in the introduction. There really isn't a more efficient way to film that scene and to still have all of the depth and to be able to create a realistic bar. Sometimes you'll be in a bar scenario where people will light it from the outside in, where you're pushing light towards the bar. And if you've ever been, not blacked out at a bar, congratulations to you. And also you'll notice that all of the light normally in the real world emanates from the bar. So you have a couple different choices that you have to make if you want to create a realistic bar-looking scene. One of them is if all of the light is emanating from the bar and we have two people sitting at that bar and they want to have a conversation, how are we going to film it in a way that allows us to have control over the contrast and the shadow? And you can do French overs. You don't have to shoot from the front, but this is a really quick, easy solution that once you see it, you can use this a number of different ways, right? It's not just, oh, I can only use it in a bar. You can use it in a restaurant, in a diner, in a cafeteria. Any way you can put people, rather than having them opposite each other, you can put them side by side, but at an edge. And that edge is going to make all the difference because that's how we can start to create shape, how it's easy to get wides, to get tights. All of the angles work to everything that we always talk about in the framework. And again, the whole point of looking at this stuff is to have these scenarios in your mind so that when you go into a location, the sooner that you can pass on information to the director, to the production design, to the producers, to the entire production about what is going to look good and what is not going to look good, chances are higher that those are actually going to be able to happen on the day. Whatever it is, whatever value you're adding, if you're asking for something, whether it's shears, whether it's, a different material in the background, whether it's to paint the walls or to add rugs in the room, whatever it might be, if you can get that information in early, there's a higher chance that that's actually going to be there on the day, right? You can't wait until the morning that you're shooting this scene and be like, you know what would be good? What if we had them sit like this? It's like you have to be peppering those ideas from the start because everyone around you has more stuff to worry about that has nothing to do with the image. That's why they call you the director of photography, right? That's the bit that you're supposed to be concerned with. And to get ahead of that, again, you could do this all on your own. You could find out this stuff. You could just fly by the seat of your pants. Or you could do the prep. You could draw up the storyboards in your mind for every single scenario that you're going to face, and then you just start to accumulate the ones that you like, the ones that work the best. You can start to get an understanding of times, how long these things take. Like this is one particular setup that I think is the quickest of all of the bar setups. So if I'm in a hurry, this is what I offer out first. I don't offer up French overs if I'm in a hurry, or I don't offer up the opposite, looking out from the bar if I'm in a hurry, because those are going to take more manipulation to try and keep the same shape and depth that we're able to get here for a fraction of the time. And there's less elements to screw up. And that should be, at least in my life, that is a scenario where I want to pick the scenario which is going to have the least amount of elements for me to screw up, because chances are I'm going to screw them up. That's how well I know myself. That's how bad I am as a cinematographer. Yet, still, somehow, continue to get jobs. I don't know how it's done, but that's a video for another day. So if you've got questions, if you've got any comments, I'm sure there are people out there that don't want to learn cinematography this way, that think it's a faux pas to speak on such basic terms and to build up a framework around images that you want to see. Those people just aren't me. So if that's you, please let me know in the comments, and I will do my best to ignore everything that you say and continue to do what has worked for me. Okay, that is going to do it. Many thanks. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.